Generally, there is noticeable overlapping in governments at different levels. There was the divestiture of power and energy from the exclusive list to the concurrent list by the preceding government. You served as Commissioner for Energy at a time in Delta State. What is the ramifications of this divestiture to Delta State, and how do you see states gaining from this, particularly Delta State? What is the need for Delta?
Are you sure I want to answer this one? Now, I think the federal government should try and do better than they are doing. Exclusive, concurrent, that's okay. That is very okay. There are no issues with that. But beyond paperwork, the practicality on ground, if you limit the quantity of electricity that states can generate to maybe 15, 20, 50 megawatts and all, Asaba alone requires about 80 to 120 megawatts to have steady power supply. If you are going to do that and succeed, then perhaps the issue of our warped federation should also be addressed, such that the states become actual federating units and not the federal government having all the powers and the states going cap in hand every month in the name of FAC to collect monies. So you don't do these things in bits. It has to be total. Free the states. Some call it resource control, don't know. But for me, let there be true federalism. When there is true federalism, this country will thrive. Because every state has latent advantages. Every state in this country. But if we all sit back lazily, because there's oil money that is coming that we will share at the end of the month, those latent things that you have, you wouldn't go into them. So I do not believe in the way it is being done. I was Commissioner for Power and Energy in Delta State when the discos were sold. The discos that were sold by the federal government, virtually all of the assets, 90% of the assets, were owned by the state government. The state government invested in them, installed them from transformers to general education. And when federal government decided to sell, did they really consult the say, okay, what and what have you invested so that we can make refunds? It wasn't there. But that's how the government went ahead, got a consultant to do our asset verification. Up to now, I didn't hear that any refunds were made. So our country is such that a lot of things beyond what you read in the papers, beyond what is in the news, there are other fundamentals that are not properly done or properly captured. If you remove the state government's investment in electricity in Delta State, if you remove it, the state will be in the Stone Age, perpetual darkness. Because everything you see, from the smallest transformer to the biggest, 90% of them were paid for, installed by the state government. So it's a good development. States will tap into it, do small IPPs here and there. But when we do the small IPPs, I'm also thinking about the environmental impact that is going to have. Would it be better that you have one major one? Would it be better that federal government thinks of financing serious research into renewable energy and all of that? So a whole lot is happening in the sector itself, but they all don't seem to be properly coordinated, and I think that's why we are still where we are, despite all the pronouncements that have been made. Ordinarily, you would think that with the pronouncements that have been made, with the concurrent list now and all, that things will be better. But you know they are not better. Maybe a few more technical things should be done. When they do those, we will see the light and then we will enjoy it. You've been here for some time now. While you were here, the light went off. Abi? So I think the states are trying. But the revenue sharing formula of this country has to change, because it is the state that actually develops the country, not the federal. Even federal roads are being repaired by states. because most of them have abandoned for some time. So I really don't want to go into those federal government things, because there's a lot to say. A lot to say.
All right, so that's it. You're a practical politician. Tracing your antecedents, you've always emphasized a responsible governance and impactful approach to governance, and not just politics for the sake of politics. Let's look at the Delta State as a classical case study. How, in your estimation, will Delta State position itself to tap into the latent advantages? We can see the state is relatively peaceful and secure. Politics has been played modestly harmonious and peaceful. What are the areas you consider Delta State should pay comparative attention to position it? Arguments had ensued that the state have obvious latent capacities to stand out in exploits like we see in other climes, regardless of the shackles of the laws. Are there areas you think that politics should be played to the advantage and advancements of the state?
No, I wouldn't call it politics. I would call it governance. And one of those areas is the one we've already talked about, education. You can see that we've leveraged seriously on our advantage in that area. The other area where we have latent advantage, oil production, like you know, is still not concurrent. It is still exclusive. So nobody would even go there. But the one area I think Delta would do well in is in tax holidays. Give tax holidays to investors in the housing sector, investors in the business sector, so that the state will be industrialized. You would see that Asaba, as the state capital, is home to most of the businessmen from the southeast. It is because the environment is conducive for them, and the place is growing business-wise. So I think the government is doing a lot in that regard, but we need to have a concrete housing policy that allows the private sector and the public sector to interact, work together, and build public housing. That is one area where I think this government will do well to look into very seriously. For roads, Delta is trying for roads. Most of the terrible roads in the state are federal roads, which the state government again intervenes in from time to time. When you have road infrastructure, it opens up the place. It opens up the place for investments and for the industrialization. I believe that government should provide the basic amenities and let the private persons come in, which is why I mentioned the tax holidays thing. Come in and establish the industries. Government is not a known business persona. Government doesn't manage business. Government will always wreck businesses. So if we create an environment where a man comes in with his monies and he has 3, 4, 5 years tax holiday, so that he can recoup his investments, I think we'll do very well. The other area we'll look into, which is already also being looked into, is the issue of industrial parks and free trade zones, which the government has taken a notch higher in having a dedicated leadership structure for the free trade zones in Delta State. So, which is again why the end to litigations is most welcome, so that we can focus on the next steps of what we are going to make progress in. That's it.
You cannot shy away from politics proper, and I'm not likely going to let you escape easily. In Delta State, one can modestly establish that there must be something the People's Democratic Party is doing right that has kept Delta a PDP state. What is the political culture of Delta State, PDP specifically? One would have expected ordinarily that the wave of what happened in the federal elections of 2023 would have impacted and swept your party away in the state. But you swiftly reinvented yourselves and came back hot and strong. What are you doing right? And more importantly, what should be looked into going forward by your party to remain strong and unwavering?
You know, when you have a forest, maybe you have baobab tree, you have iroko tree, you have pawpaw tree, you have plantain tree, and then the wind comes. The ones that are rooted will stand. The ones not rooted will. I think PDP is rooted in the state, and every government that has come has made human capital development priority. So the average Deltan is touched. One way or another, you are touched. That has helped to keep PDP not only in our minds, in our lips, but in our hearts in Delta. You know, I told you that even those who contested against PDP are all PDP. So PDP is the family. PDP is the grandfather. PDP is the great-grandfather, is the great-great-grandfather. So any which way you come, your root is in PDP. If PDP didn't groom you, you wouldn't become whatever you became. All of them. Mention one person in Delta. It is the good grooming, the good training they got in PDP that even made them to aspire under other platforms, believing that they now had the capacity to so do. Well, you know, people can get new clothes passing papa, but you know get rack passing papa. And what PDP has done is say, look, you are still our children, but okra not the grow passing owner, so still come. And let me just say that the doors of PDP are still wide open to take them back, take them in, and join in. I don't want to say it is a one-party state, but Delta is a PDP state, and it will remain so for a very long time. For a very long time, because it is the one party that has not changed identity since 1998-99. Others have changed from AD to ACN, ACN to AC to whatever. But PDP has remained PDP, and that is cardinal to its survival. It doesn't change nomenclature, doesn't change name. It has remained People's Democratic Party. I think that counts for something. There must be something ingenious that the founders of this party did to keep it the way it is. Some have left and come back. Even in Delta, some left, some came back. Across the country, some have left, some have come back. Before the next elections, you will see influx into this party. It is what it is. Those who began it, and I give kudos to those who were there in 98, 99, I think they planted something. They planted their tap roots, and the tap roots are just all over the place. But let's not get carried away. There's still a lot of room for improvement. And as far as the leadership of the party and of the state are concerned, we'll keep improving ourselves and keep bettering our opponents at every election. Thank you.
On the final note, sir, and simply as we can put it, some have argued that the PDP should go into measure with, like you rightly said, most of those are equally foundationally PDP, like you saw in EMETULU, you saw in Alhaji Kwankwaso. They are still pandering with the notion of measure ahead of 2027. Others equally come out to posit that would be lazy politics. As a politician, what are your thoughts on
why would you say it is lazy? It isn't lazy politics. It took a measure to remove PDP from power in 2015. So those who say it is lazy politics, I don't know what they mean by it. If the ideologies are similar, then why not? They are similar. Why not? There's no harm in a measure or in working together or in forming a coalition. When President Shagari won his election under NPN in 1979, there was this working arrangement between NPN and NPP, such that an NPP member became Speaker House of Reps, the late Chief Edwin Ume Ezeoke. So there is absolutely nothing wrong in a coalition or in working together, by whatever name you want to call it, measure, whatever. If the leaderships of all the emerging parties agree, why not? In 2015, APGA, only a part of APGA merged to form APC. You know, some part of PDP said they were new PDP, they joined, ACN joined, and they all became APC at the end of the day. Even CPC joined. So it's, and it worked. So if it worked for them, why can't it work for us? I don't see anything wrong with that. It's like homecoming for most of those who are even talking about this measure. They are not new people. They are people that we've always known. We know ourselves, we know our sentiments, we know our different, I don't know how to put it now, we know our differences. So there are people that we can always work with. Don't forget that in 2019, Peter Obi was running me to Atiku in PDP. So I don't see anything wrong with it. I support it wholeheartedly. If it is a measure that will bring about solid governance in Nigeria, why not? I don't want to sound political, but you will agree with me that the last 8 years, our people will say Okufozo. The last 8 years was a monumental disaster in this country. No, by whatever paint you want to paint it. That today we're sending $1 for about 1,300. I think it's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing for all those who vilified PDP. It wasn't this bad. The PDP does not look like the glorious yesterday. So if a measure will bring back solid governance with sound economic policies and all, I don't believe in what is happening now where you just wake up in the morning, whatever you see, you take. No, I mean, there has to be direction. In my view, this country is just rudderless right now. Just floating anywhere water carry you go. So measure, I welcome it very much. If our party leadership agrees to it, accepts it, it is most welcome by those of us who are the foot soldiers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for availing us this time. Please, let's do this again soon. Immeasurable thanks to you, Honorable, for giving us this time.
By the grace of God. And thank you for coming.